Thank you, Madam President. I have read this report very carefully and I can agree with many of its conclusions. The starting point, which is acknowledged by this report, is that lobbying is part of the functioning of a democratic society. We are all, for example, lobbied by the people who voted in our elections. It also acknowledges that pressure groups include trade unions and consumer groups, and that these are also lobbyists. I welcome the emphasis of the report on encouraging transparency and openness in European institutions. That includes this very Council, where former members can be seen acting as lobbyists. A good contribution is the great role given to national parliaments to scrutinise legislation coming out of the European Union that we see before us today. Of course, decision-making needs to be undertaken efficiently and with a degree of confidentiality, but there is something in this report for all of us to consider. What we are trying to tie down with this report is activities which could lead to corruption. There are countries in the world where corruption runs riot. One I work closely with sees 40% of its oil stolen before the government can get hold of the revenues, making a big difference to the finances of that country. We are not talking of such obvious and flagrant examples of corruption in Europe, but we are talking of a level of secrecy which goes beyond confidentiality and which affects decisions which have an impact on us all. I support the calls for the EU to take further care of its transparency and openness. One area in which I would urge caution and for more thought to be given is the proposals for restrictions on the activities of MEPs. The report talks of a revolving door between a lobbyist and being an MEP. One thing I think it is essential to stop is the carrying out of lobbying activities while still holding office. This is something we have addressed in the UK Parliament. Indeed, ministers who have the real level of influence in our Parliament are banned from holding positions for 2 years following leaving office, so there is a cooling off period. I was talking with one former minister only the other day about a potential project who had to back off from becoming involved, saying she was unable to lobby government for 2 years. So where MEPs have direct influence over an area, they should have to follow rules which about their conflicts of interest and access to documents. But what is a good rule for one side is also a good rule for the other. I am lobbied on a regular basis by a number of groups who try to galvanise interest from the community at large for a particular action without disclosing who is backing them and where their own money comes from. Giving people the level of knowledge to be able to make up their own minds demands a level of openness that we currently do not see amongst these organisations. Yet they are operating in an openly political way to change public opinion. The report touches on an important area for us all, but it is not a straightforward one. I urge the EU to step up its cooperation with the Council of Europe in the fight against corruption, and I fully support the calls for the EU to take its decisions in as open a way as possible that it can do.